Hi, I'm Tim Richards. This is the second video clip I've put together relating to my book Exploring Jazz Piano Volume 1. This time we're going to be looking at seventh chords, modes and scale patterns. Having played a lot of triads in the first clip, we're now going to move on to 4-note seventh chords. So you can find these in the major scale starting with root 3, 5 and 7 from the C major scale. Notice that's a natural or major seventh on top. Therefore we call that C major 7. Second one, D minor 7, it's got a minor third. E minor 7. The 4 chord is F major 7, major triad on the bottom, major 7th on top. 5 chord is G7, that's got a flattened 7th because it's not F sharp, and that's called a dominant 7th as well. And 6, A minor 7, minor triad with a flattened 7th, and 7, B half diminished. You can also call that B minor 7 flat 5, because if it was actually B minor 7, you'd have to have an F sharp in there. We don't, we have a flattened 5th. So that's a great way to start practicing your scales. Practice them as 4-note chords in different keys. Get to know them all. But you also need to know them starting on the same root so that you can find them and recognize them when you see them on a chart. So let's practice the main 3 chords, major, dominant and minor, starting on C. C major 7, flatten the 7th, that gives you C7, also known as a dominant 7th. Flatten the 3rd and you get C minor 7. So those are the 3 most commonly found chords in jazz. I'm now going to play them in the left hand, and I'm going to find the related scale in the right hand. What we're going to be doing is playing the 3 most commonly found modes, and I'm going to show you a really easy way to find these because people often get confused. Now the first one is easy. It's just a major scale, that goes with C major 7. Now because we've flattened the 7th in the chord, we just have to flatten it in the scale. That's called a mixolydian scale, but you don't need to know that, you just need to remember that for a C7 chord you must flatten the 7th in the scale. And on the minor chord we've got the flattened 3rd as well, therefore we have to flatten that in the scale. So that's called a dorian scale. Just remember, with minor 7th chords you need flattened 3rd and flattened 7th. So we've just looked at 3 important scales or modes. We're going to now focus on the mixolydian scale, which you use with dominant 7th chords. And remember, all you need to do is flatten the 7th. So for C7, if I was a jazz player, I might play a scale pattern. Incidentally, there's a whole page of scale patterns on page 99 of the book. That's just one of them. If I was a blues player, I might not be thinking of a mixolydian scale. Nevertheless, there's a whole bunch of blues licks that use notes exclusively from the scale. For instance, and then when we go to F, we're going to play the F scale, and so on. There's a tune in the book by Thelonious Monk which is a blues in F, and it uses a standard blues sequence, and in the improvisation section I suggest a mixolydian scale on F for the 1 chord, maybe with a shell in the left hand, root and 7th. So there's a bit of improvisation on F using that scale. Then for B flat we go to B flat mixolydian. Back to F, and then C, so there's the 3 scales that you need for a basic blues in F, and you can practice that with the backing track if you wish for straight no chaser. We're now going to look at the Dorian scale, which as you know fits the minor 7th chord. So we flattened the F sharp and the C sharp that we would have got in a major scale to make them fit D minor 7. flatten third, flatten seventh. Now you may notice that between these two chords D minor and E minor 7 you've got all the white notes, which is this D Dorian scale. So I'm playing it there with a loop, going down to C so I can start again the first beat of the bar. And that was actually the basis of a tune I wrote called Drifting. It started like this. So that's the introduction, and I'm playing the D minor and E minor chords in second inversion with the fifth on the bottom. So in order to find shapes like that, I recommend you practice up and down the inversions of any seventh chord that you happen to need. D minor 7, first inversion, second, third, root position, and back down. Don't forget to do it in the left hand as well. We're going to play the chords in the left hand when we play the melody of Drifting. And then it goes to F minor. F minor to G minor. Dorian on F. Across both chords, and then down to E flat for the third key center. So you need to be able to play your E flat Dorian. Flatten third, flatten seventh. I'll now demonstrate a little bit of improvisation over the solo section of the tune with just the bass and drums on the CD. I'm now going to show you how to use the Dorian scale, not just over a minor chord, but over a chord pair. In the last clip you may remember we played over G minor 7, C7 using a minor pentatonic scale. Well, now we can do the same thing using a Dorian scale, and the track 2/5 chords with Dorian scales on page 172 is a workout that goes through 6 keys, starting with E minor A7, played in rootless voicings. Just one note changes from 2 to 5, from E minor to A7. We'll put a Dorian scale of E on top. Now if I play a pattern, a 4-note group for instance, or I could come down, so we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone now. We've got 2 chords, because we know they belong together and they use the same scale. We can just play Dorian over the minor and not worry about having to change it over the A7. It's really great practice to do that kind of thing round a cycle. 2/5 cycle, for instance, would go down to the next key, down a tone, D minor to G, all white notes for the D minor Dorian, C minor, B flat minor, flat minor, F sharp minor, so great practice with the CD. Get rid of the piano and practice with bass and drums only. Chords left hand, Dorian scales right hand. Right, that's it for now. I hope you found that enjoyable and useful. Join me for the third clip. It deals with horizontal and vertical improvisation.